All right, we'll call the meeting to order, and we're going to start with a roll call to make sure that we have a quorum. I'm Don Hall. I'm here, and we have Miss Beth Burns also. Mr. Springer, are you on?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay.
Brent Springer.
Okay, Brent Springer is here, and Mr. Smith, are you on?
This is Ken Smith. I am on the call.
Okay, Mr. Smith is here, and Mr. Cordero. All right, I think Mr. Cordero had another engagement to go to, so we have 4. That is enough for a quorum, so we'll get started. Brandon, since this is a committee meeting, these things like adopting the agenda and all of this, do we proceed the same way as a normal meeting?
Yes, sir.
With votes?
Yes, sir.
So on and so forth? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I make a motion that we adopt the,
Yes, sorry.
So,
go ahead, Mr. Springer.
Mr. Springer has made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms.
Beth
Burns has seconded. All in favor say aye. And let me call the roll since some are remote. So, Ms. Burns,
Aye.
Mr. Springer,
Aye.
and Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you. All right, next item is number 3, strategic planning. It's Mr. Taylor.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. First item for Operations and Strategic Planning Committee is the design build schematic design presentation. As shared the last board meeting and approval of the second payment, they are 50% complete. We would like for them to come and present to you the current status and additional documents where we are with the schematic design so that we can continue the progress. After this, we do expect them to come either monthly or bi-monthly for a Board of Education update. So I have a placeholder there. The presentation will be forthcoming next week, so you'll have an opportunity to review it prior to the board meeting. It would be on information agenda since there are no actions needed for that item. Is there anything you would like for me to change or request of them between now and the board meeting?
Yes, sir, I got something, Mr. Taylor, if it's okay, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Taylor, during the design phase, I don't know where they're at. You know, I understand they're more than 50% complete, but something that needs to be taken into consideration during the design phase is the power. We need to make sure we have enough outlets so we're not running drop cords in classrooms for Chromebooks, whether it be in floor or the casework per se, for students to be able to keep their laptops charged. I know this has been a fight with some of the principals, and I can understand their side of it, but being this is a new school, I feel like we need to make sure that the power supply there for students to be able to drop the cord down and plug it in, or plug it into the furniture if it's adequate.
Yes, sir. That has been in conversation, a part of the conversation, because obviously some of our schools were built when there was only a need for one device to be plugged in, and that was generally the teachers. We recognize, obviously, with every student in the building having devices, the accessibility to power supply is a criteria that we must address with the new classroom design.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Anything else?
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Taylor?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
The next item is the 3-tier bill schedule proposal for 24-25. Those, everyone remembers we went through last year, did an extensive research with third-party vendor to help us make sure that we were capable of providing a 3-tier bill structure for the purposes. One of the purposes is reducing the traffic load at specific sites, but also to maximize the utilization of our human capital as well as our mechanical capital or our buses as we continue to grow. So due to the continued growth of our schools and current demand on our student transportation program, we're recommending a transition to a 3-tier bell schedule in an effort to increase the efficiency and current capital and human resources available. Based on recent data, the efficiency may not increase that much because we were 100% efficient last year. We would like to continue to maintain that, though. But it would help us reduce the demand on our human capital. I have a presentation provided for you, and it is up. Some of the goals, develop the comprehensive multi-tiered bell schedule that supports and promotes an atmosphere of academic excellence for all of our students, protect the instructional time by ensuring safe and on-time transportation services, address the significant bus driver and monitor personnel shortage, and to increase employment of more full-time bus drivers and monitors, and to decrease the current need for established daily doubles. Some of the task force concerns that we tried to address, obviously, one of the primary concerns we experienced last time was the earlier start time. So we addressed that by not having any school start prior to 7:30. But there are other concerns that we have to address. Afternoon childcare for elementary students. We have been in discussion with our PACES director and our administrators to expand our program offerings. Staff childcare for students who attend a school that is a different grade level in which their parent teaches. We know that our principals will need to work to address those individual staff needs. High schools starting any later than they currently are will jeopardize our AP, EOC academic opportunities. Many of our students who are currently participating in extracurricular activities are leaving school already prior to the end of the day. And the last thing, in the event we were to change the schedule, middle school extracurricular activities based on not having lighting at all of our fields, it would dictate a need for us to change the current athletic scheduling. But we've been in conversation with neighboring districts who utilize an alternative schedule than we do, and we know we can make it work. This is a participation from the stakeholder survey that we sent out several months ago. We did have 2,505 responses. As you can see, the schools in which participated. Obviously, our larger schools had higher participation because there's more students and parents there. The responses, we had almost 60% of our respondents were those who depend on transportation, which is similar, a little bit less than, but similar to our current ridership in the school system. There were 3 options for our parents to select, or their preferred choice. Option A had 871 responses. Option B had 944 responses. And option C, 690 responses. We do believe that the first 2 options were the targets of what we were able to do from a transportation as well as extracurricular and academic lens. The district staff as a whole, in conversation with our administrative staff, other stakeholders internally, and the superintendent staff, that option A does meet the number 1 goal of providing the highest level of academic opportunity for our students. Option B would push our high school start times to 9 a.m., which would prevent many of our students from participating in AP courses specifically, as well as our CCP courses at the community college. Additionally, moving our traditional high schools to a 9 o'clock start time will also force us to establish 5 or 6 standalone early college routes, which would then, of course, negatively impact one of the main goals of this process of reducing human capital. We currently have shuttle routes in the attendance zones to get our students to Pender Early College, who then have to travel to North Campus for established courses. Moving the start time for our high schools to 9 o'clock means those students would miss at least 1 hour of the first class opportunity at North Campus. And it would disrupt our current shuttle process. Our recommended changes would help us align with the DOT recommendation for multi-tiering of elementary and middle schools. The specific DOT study was for the Topsail High feeder pattern. Additionally, we could reduce our traffic impacts for Cape Fear Elementary and Middle and Pila, as well as Surf City Elementary and Middle. We do reduce the established double routes in the Topsail High feeder pattern and Heidi Trask feeder pattern. We do believe there will be a reduction in the number of TAs driving buses by providing a window of opportunity to hire more full-time drivers. We do believe there will be a reduction in the number of buses needed to transport the current number of students riding and the future number of students riding. We do believe the last thing is we can maintain our current efficiency rating with maximizing those human resources and our buses. The bell schedules are provided with bus arrival and drop-off time and the early release time for those 3 options. And that is all I have at this time. I'm sure there will be questions from the board once you've had an opportunity to digest the presentation, as well as the survey that was submitted to our parents. I look forward to helping answer those questions. You know, we did have frequently asked questions access. We have not received any recent questions since before the Christmas break. So if there are other questions that come about, you know, as always, we're willing to answer those questions and submit them for community review. And again, this does not answer every question or concern that we have. We do believe that this is the first step in moving to the next phase of improving the transportation overall across the district. We believe that the next step would be improved discipline practices, communication with our administrators and drivers, and finally, obviously, we continue to seek additional funding to support increased raises or increased salary and compensation for our drivers. But this is the first step in a multi-tiered approach to addressing the concerns that we have regarding transportation in our district.
I'll just add on to that, you know, one of the other items, and we mentioned just briefly here, and part of my speaking with school staff is at least making it optional for our instructional assistants on driving buses. We still have many instructional assistant positions that are open and are not being filled because of the requirement to drive buses in our district. And so adopting the three-tier bell system will assist us in that. And I'm not trying to take away the option, want to keep the option for those assistants that would like to do that, because many of them really truly love doing that job, and we need them. But ultimately, not having to have them drive is always would benefit our district, so that we can go ahead and hire many of these vacant TA positions that we have.
Oh, yeah. Anyone have any more questions before we move on?
Well, I just had one comment.
Sure.
You know, looking at it, we all know that this is a multifaceted problem,
Yes, ma'am.
and that there were, you know, and I know that you've taken a multitude of questions, not just from board members, but also from parents about this. And we gave you guys the problem and said we need a solution, and you've come up with one. And we, personally, I would like to thank all of you for all the time that you have spent on this, and I know that there's been a lot. And it's, now I guess we will, I know as a board member, I will probably be hearing from more parents now
Yes,
that
ma'am.
this has been presented today,
Sure.
and I welcome those
Yes, ma'am.
comments. But I just wanted to say thank you for all the effort you've put into this. It's appreciated.
Thank you.
All right. Yes.
That is a proposed action item, obviously. I didn't mention that at the beginning. The next item is also a proposed action agenda item, the MDF and IDF fiber cable upgrades. The majority of our existing fiber interconnect cables are OM1 multi-mode fiber. These cables are rated for data up to 1 gigabyte per second. We are seeking to replace these cables with OM3 multi-mode fiber, which is rated for a data rate of 10 gigabytes per second. Upgrading these cables will allow us to better utilize the increased data rates that our new network switch hardware will enable. These cabling and installation services are paid for using the FCC's E-rate program. There is a 20% portion of $65,078.05 that will have to be paid through local funds, Fund 8, which will then be fully reimbursed by NCDPI in fiscal year 2025. The documentations is provided regarding the Technology Services Department mini bid process, the respondents to our bid, and our preferred or recommended provider, ANC Group Secure IT. And again, that would be an action item unless you would like to have it moved to a different part of the agenda.
Action sounds adequate to me.
I think so.
Are there any questions at the moment?
So this is yet another upgrade to the switches that we just approved, I think, at the last meeting, or?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Okay.
We improved those switches, upgraded those. They were 6 years old, and obviously every 5 years is the target date for those. This would allow us to maximize the capacity of those switches and also the demand that we currently have in our schools regarding the instructional technology delivery methods.
Yeah, you had my attention when I saw increased data rates.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
yes, that,
Yeah, to explain this portion, and it was bid separate, that's why you're seeing this separate from the switches. These are the fiber lines that connect the switches together
yes,
between our various closets.
okay,
And so the switches are capable of a certain data rate, and these are enabling them to communicate between each other at that increased data rate.
very good, thank you.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Nowlin.
Good morning, Board. You will see in the Finance Committee section the normal fuel and electric costs. Do we have any questions or concerns? I just want to make a note still that we have added the kilowatts per hour. And you will note that for the electric, it's a few months behind. So it will always run a few months behind on those numbers. Any questions or concerns related to fuel or electric?
I just wanted to say thank you for including those kilowatt hours, because I think that's gonna help us with the demise of the Synergistics contract. That's going to let us see just exactly how much money either we were saving or not. But how many months are we looking before we can get that information?
So it looks like it runs like a couple months behind, and that's because they're analyzing the information. This information, the kilowatts per hour, is coming from the Synergistic program, correct? Or
which is a program that we utilize to monitor utility usage while obviously Center Districts use it, but we want to continue using it so we can monitor our usage over time.
Oh, okay. I thought that we were going to get those kilowatt hours off of our bill.
Well, it's a little bit difficult to get those off of our bills because of the timing of the bills and so some of them are different billing statement dates. So we want to make sure we're measuring apples to apples and not apples to oranges. So we may be looking at kilowatts for one past month and the billing date is different for another particular, there's multiple, what are like you have the school and then you have the lights for the field, and so a lot of those things are on different accounts and the billing statement dates are different.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
We are currently still receiving bills from our utility providers from November. So that's why the current, I think it's October, right?
Right. It's
So
up to
we've
October.
not inputted all of the November bills yet, so we're still a couple months behind.
Okay, thank you for explaining
Based on
that.
billing and the statement releases and things of that nature.
Right. Okay.
And that will continue to run that way, correct?
Yes,
It
ma'am.
will always run
The
behind.
utility usage rate is always on the document that we receive, and that's how we're calculating our usage is kilowatt hours.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
The next item, if there aren't any other questions,
Yeah, Lisa, hold on a minute.
Sorry.
Anyone on the phone, if you have any questions at any time, just say something here and we'll stop, so it can be asked. Okay? All right, go ahead.
the next item are attorney fees, and they're included in your presentation. Any questions or concerns related to the attorney fees?
None for me.
Okay, the next item is your financial board report. Forgive me as I blow this up because I can't see even with glasses. You will see that the state funds are 48.96% expended, local 61% expended, federal 50.25% expended. You will see notes, the note 1 on the federal budget, and it is pending. We have some red there, which is pending a budget amendment to federal PRC 181, and that's just in process of sending and getting approved from DPI. But the overall budget has over 6 million, so it's just about purpose code. Fund 4, 62% expended. Fund 5, 38% expended. Fund 8, 53. And our overall budget's about 51.45% expended. Again, I just want to make sure that, it might be concerning. I think we're about on target where we should be for half the year. Local is a little bit over, but again, we have encouraged our staff members, if you look in that PO and encumbrance line, there's $2.2 million encumbered. We've encouraged staff members to create POs, like blanket POs for fuel and expenses that they know they have so that we can budget appropriately and earmark those funds in advance. Any questions or concerns about the budget report? The next item is budget amendments. And so the first one, let's do special revenue. And basically, the special revenue is an increase, an overall increase in revenue for a code. And you will see, I have included also the detail for the special revenue, and that's in, for every fund, there's detail related to the budget amendments attached. So you can see where money is added and then where money is shifted. Any questions about the special revenue?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and local budget amendment, that is just shifting of money. There was no, was no additional revenue. You will see this throughout the year. Anytime we switch money from purpose code, I want to be completely transparent to the board. It's not required. But I want to make sure that we are giving you all the information where we're transferring money from one purpose code to the other. Any questions on local? The next one is capital outlay. And that was an increase of $112,000, and you will see some shifting of money from operational to regular instruction and co-curriculum. And you can also see the detail related to the additional funding. Any questions or concerns? The state budget amendment, that is the one that we discussed when we were passing the budget, that we were going to have some reversions. This looks a little bit skewed because it looks like we got increased funding of $334,973.99. If you remember, most of those reversions are in position allotments, which means that we don't necessarily have to reduce the dollars because they are paid by dollars. And on top of the reversions, we did receive other money that came in. And if you look at the notes on the bottom, it tells you where we lost money and where we gained money, so that you can see that we're not showing like a 1.8 million reduction that I told you about previously. We received additional money for principals and teacher bonus pay, transportation bus increases, literacy intervention, and the safety grant. So those funds have offset those. And again, I want to let you know that those details are attached in the information right under that. Does anybody have any questions, or can you see those details? That's where you would, if you look at those details and have a question about why we're moving something somewhere, where we're increasing revenue, that's where you would see that information. I also want to, if anybody doesn't have any questions, I want to remind you all that February, our auditor will be coming to present. The audit is complete and filed with the LGC. It was attached to the last board meeting, and then we canceled it, or rescheduled, and he couldn't make it on the rescheduled date. So he will be here to present the audit. Any questions or concerns? Thank you.
Looks good, thank you.
Good morning, Board. The first two items for instructional services, we have two EC contracts from Aya Healthcare to provide an EC teacher at Burgon Middle School, which is replacing a teacher, and an EC teacher at Pila, which is also replacing a vacant position. And the third one on there as well, all three of them looking to put on the consent agenda, is an EC contract for a positive behavior support tech. Again, it's a staffing for an EC student. Any questions on those three?
Anyone have any questions on the phone?
I don't, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you.
As we were discussing at the CPAC last night, just trying to make everything as transparent to everyone as we can. The need for EC teachers is great, but there's not that many of them out there right now who are looking for jobs because everyone's trying to retain what they have. So it's become necessary to go out on contract for some of these positions. And like I said, we just wanted to remain transparent about that as to where we are in the measures that we are taking to, to get more EC teachers in. So, no, thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is, you'll see the actual list in the personnel during closed session. However, the Community Media Advisory Committee, the CMAC, the committee members are appointed by the Board of Education in accordance with Policy 3210, which responds to community requests for reviewing instructional materials beyond school-level committees. The committee undergoes a yearly selection process in February for a one-year term. Nominations and recommendations are gathered from principals and central office staff, along with self-nominations from parents and guardians for the Board of Education consideration. In the packet that you'll see in the personnel during closed session, all of the individuals that were selected and nominated are in that packet. We just didn't want it to be in the regular agenda because it has staff members' names. Are there any questions about that?
Not here.
Okay.
I just want to recognize Craig Lawson for the great job that he has done and continues to do in that area around policies 3200, 3210. So, Mr. Lawson, thank you very much for always doing an outstanding professional job of excellence. So thank you.
Could not agree more.
Thank you. The next item is the Head Start required reporting. We're looking at putting that on consent as well. This is the required reporting every 2 months that you'll see. Just a couple highlights on there. I also have to take my glasses off to see. The total enrollment as of December was 253 students. I would like to point out too, volunteer hours was 142. And that was all within the family engagement realm. So there was a lot of volunteer hours that occurred during the last cycle. Are there any questions about the Head Start reporting?
No, ma'am.
I think it would be, Dr. Sawyer, I think it'd be important to recognize those volunteers. I mean, that's a lot of hours, 142 hours, that's almost half, is the other number you just gave. So it's important to recognize those and put that time and effort in to the kids.
I agree.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other questions? Okay. The next two items on the agenda are basic just updates. So we have an EC update, and I have Summer Mills and Audra Williams here if there's any other questions. So the CPAC dates, we had a CPAC meeting on January 29th at South Topsail Elementary from 4 to 5. It went really well yesterday. We got to split them up into two separate groups and talk about some transitioning for school-age students and just general EC processes and what that's going to look like with the EC parents. In addition to that, the principal, Miss Bates, at South Topsail Elementary, was able to talk about an autism awareness day that she's putting together for the county out at South Topsail Elementary. So more to come about that in the coming weeks. February 26th is the next CPAC date. It will be on the west side, and we're looking about a week out from the February 26th date to assign location. It will be from 4 to 5 p.m. Beyond that, on the east side, it'll be March 18th, and then on the west side again, it'll be April 22nd. So we'll update you as we go through every month. Special Olympics is coming. It is on April 12th at Heidi Trask High School. So we're very much looking forward to that. The EC Formal will be held on March 1st at Topsail High School. Again, looking forward to that. Last month, I gave you an EC update. We have trained admin on January 11th with the new changes with EC. We trained the teachers, the APs, and all the related service on January 25th. We had a CPAC meeting last night, again, talked to parents, and we are working with EC to determine how we're going to further out communication and provide resources to parents as we're moving forward. So it is a work in progress, but we are definitely moving in a positive direction with EC. Any questions on EC updates?
One question. It always seems that the EC Formal is held over on the east side. Is there any way that we could maybe centralize that possibly? I know you've already got it in, I know you already have it in the books now and you're planning for it at Topsail High, but I was just wondering if next year, could we maybe do that a little bit closer, like Heidi Trask, maybe more towards the center of the county?
Yep, we can definitely look into that for next year.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions? The last thing on the agenda, we have an update for testing and accountability, and I'm going to ask Ms. Fallon Fuller to come up and give you guys an update on that as well.
This is just in regards to reassignments. We're going to open up that application a month earlier than we have in the past. So we're going to open it February the 1st, and we're going to close it on March 31st. So we're going to give our families 2 months to get the reassignment application completed. We also are going to send out our notification decision letters much earlier than the end of June. Our K-8 students will get their decision letter with report cards in May. And our high school students will get those mailed with report cards. And then our rising kindergarten students whose families submit a request will get theirs in the mail in May. Any questions about the reassignment applications?
Now, when you're saying reassignment, are we talking about transfers or requested transfers?
So if I live in another district, if I live in Penderley's district, but I want my student to go to Burgall Middle, it's for any student who is requesting to attend a school outside of their district.
Gotcha. And we also have a policy about basically overcrowded schools.
Correct.
And if you could remind everyone.
Yes, so the policy states that if the school is over 95% capacity, that their request to attend that school can be denied. And those are all of our east side schools.
Yes.
And we do have some on the west side that are getting very close to 95% as well.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything they want to add about reassignment? No? Okay. And then our district release, so for those students who attend like C-Tech, or if we have families who live in Pender County but teach in other surrounding counties, the district release will open on April the 1st.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Morning, Board.
Morning.
Good morning, everybody that's calling in. I just have three things on here. One is the executive summary for policy that deals with safety. This brings this policy up to speed. It'll be hopefully on first read for the February board meeting. We've included the Say Something app as part of that policy now. We're catching up with what we're doing every day. We're just adding into policy. Any questions specific to that particular policy, 1510, 4200, 7270?
Mr. Taylor, I'd like to, Mr. Chair, if I could speak, Mr. Taylor, I'd like to defer that to closed session to talk about this policy.
Mr. Springer, are you going to ask for legal advice on specific situations regarding that policy?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Springer. The second component on there is just a notice that there'll be legal RFP for legal counsel will be at the February board meeting. The firms that have been selected will present at the next board meeting in public session. So just to make you aware of that, make the public aware of that. The last particular agenda item is the update on the calendar. We currently have the community input survey out. So far, we've received about 2,000 responses. As it stands right now, percentage-wise, is about 81% in favor of draft 4, which is December testing for the 24-25 school year. Same percentage, essentially, for the 25-26 school year. These are traditional calendars. For December testing as well, that would be draft number 5. Pender Lee, looks like draft 1 is what most of the votes have been for. Obviously, there's not as many votes for Pender Lee as there are for traditional, just because Pender Lee is the one school. Same thing, draft 1 for 25-26 as well. So we're going to leave this open until the 31st, and we will January 31st. We will compile that information together and bring that before the board on February the 13th at our next regular board meeting. Any questions regarding the calendars at this point?
No, sir. Just looking forward to that input.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think that's all we have for this part, so Brandon, I assume, do we need to do motions and all that to go into closed session just like normal? Do you have a copy of it anywhere for? Ms. Burns has it, okay.
It's the same as I used last time? Okay, thanks.
And for those on the phone, we're gonna need to hang up and then come back separately for closed session, correct?
That's right. I believe Dr. Breedlove sent out a separate link with a separate code for that. Is that correct, Dr. Breedlove?
Yes, sir, that is correct. There's a separate code that has a link that has been sent out for closed session.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. I move that the board enter in a closed session, subject to the advice from the attorney pursuant to NC General Statute 143-318.11A1 and A6 to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel information under GS 115C-319 and to consider matters relating to personnel matters. The board will also enter into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege, to consider confidential student matters as provided in NC General Statute 143 318.11A1 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, 20 U.S.C. 1232G, and NC General Statute 115C-402.
All right, well, I think, I heard that the audio has stopped here, so I don't know if we can.
Okay, do we have,
All right, Ms. Burns has already read the motion for closed session. Can we have a second from someone on the phone?
there we are.
Do we have anyone to second the motion to go into closed session due to an audio failure?
Yes, sir. They're both.
I hope so, because if not, this
Like me.
motion's about to die and we're going to adjourn, so.
Yeah, I'm seeing both
Wait a
Mr.
minute.
Smith and Mr. Springer still on the call. Mr. Smith is unmuted. I'm not sure if he can hear us or not.
I heard someone.
Mr. Smith, can you hear us?
Mr. Smith is gone now.
Mr. Springer, would you like to make a second to this motion to have closed session? All right, motion dies. This meeting is recessed for 30 minutes. Goodbye. Good? All right. All right, we'll return from the recess, and I think, do we have Mr. Springer and Mr. Smith on the phone?
Mr. Springer's there.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
I'm here
Springer.
also. I apologize, there was difficulties with the audio earlier.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. All right, Ms. Burns previously made a motion for closed session, which is still on the floor. Do we have a second to the motion to go into closed session?
Mr. Chair, I would ask that Ms. Burns repeat her motion considering the technical difficulties, if you don't mind.
Okay, up to her if she wants to read it, so.
You can do that. I move that the board enter into closed session, subject to advice from the attorney pursuant to NC General Statute 143-318.11A1 and A6 to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel information under GS 115C-319 and to consider matters relating to personnel matters. The board will also enter into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege, to consider confidential student matters as provided in NC General Statute 143.318.11A1 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20 U.S.C. 1232G and NC General Statute 115C-402.
All right, Ms. Burns has made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Springer has seconded. All in favor? Let's see, I need to do a roll call vote. Ms. Burns?
Aye.
All right. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
And Mr. Springer?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Thank you. So we will. All right, we've returned from closed session, and I guess the only thing we need at this point is a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I make a motion.
This is Ken. Go ahead, Beth. Sorry, Ms. Burns.
It's all right. This is Beth Burns. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
All right,
This is Ken Smith. I second the motion.
all right, Mr. Smith is seconded. Let's do a roll call. Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and Mr. Springer.
Yes.
All right,